Welcome back to Biblical Greek Tidbits. In this presentation, we take a brief look at a class of adjectives called verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament. These verbal adjectives are derived from verb stems instead of tense stems and are generally, but not always, equivalent to passive participles in meaning. They are not participles since they don't have tense or voice. They have adjectival morphology and syntax, such as agreement in gender, number, and case. That is why they are called verbal adjectives. Here's a list of references used for this presentation. If you want to take a closer look, please pause the video. Verbal adjectives have verbal stems and nominative endings in tos or teos. We will list the most frequently occurring verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament on the next slide. We highly recommend reading the history of the participle and verbal adjectives contained in reference to pages 1095 through 1100. This history is beyond the scope of this presentation. Note 1. See the discussion in Smith, reference 4, pages 108 through 109, sections 367 through 368 regarding stems, and note that a tense stem may be identical with a verb stem. Also, we particularly recommend reading the introduction to verbal adjectives on page 471 of reference 5. Note 2. There is one verbal adjective in the Greek New Testament that has the suffix of teos. This occurs in Luke 5:38, vliteon, which is the accusative form of vliteos and is related to the verb volo. We will not consider this form in this presentation. Note 3. Some grammars refer to the verbal adjective suffixes tea and ta rather than the nominative forms teos and tos. Note, this list was based on a search using reference 6, Accordance Bible software. There are a total of 71 different verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament. Although in ancient Greek, that is to say, prior to the development of Hellenistic or Koine Greek, Christos is a verbal adjective. It is used only as a noun in the Greek New Testament. Below, we have listed in parentheses the verb from which each verbal adjective is derived, a gloss or glosses in bold font, and the number of occurrences in the Greek New Testament. Please pause the video to take a closer look at this list. In this presentation, we have looked at the most frequently occurring verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament. Although there are 71 verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament, according to the search using Accordance Bible software, only 7 of these occur 10 or more times. By far, the 2 most frequent verbal adjectives in the Greek New Testament are agapitos, beloved, 61 occurrences, and pistos, faithful, reliable, trustworthy, stable, 67 occurrences. Thank you for watching this presentation. As usual, I defer to real scholars on all matters of biblical Greek.